Call this meeting to order. Can we have a pledge of allegiance? I'm going to let Parish lead us to the pledge of allegiance, please. Everybody stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Parish.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for everybody being here tonight. Let's see. I guess we need to adopt the agenda. Did anybody have any problems with what was written in the last?
Motion to approve is presented.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimously? You're all there. Okay. Okay. Approval of the minutes from May 23rd, which we never did get around to. I need a motion for that as well.
Motion to approve is presented.
I need a second.
Second.
Marty, any discussion? All those approved, I'm saying likewise? Okay, unanimous. Okay. First thing we're going to talk tonight about is something that was done in the city a long time ago, but we want to take it another step, and it's consideration and approval for an art walk. We want to bring art and culture to our city. We think it's a big step in the right direction for our city. And so I've been talking, me and Green met with PACA about 3 weeks ago. And we started talking to some people. And I'm going to ask Angela from PACA to stand up, and if you would like to say anything, I appreciate it.
Okay. Funny, I'm usually the reporter here.
Yeah, I'm
The never reporter hat. So, you know, I've been meeting with Green and spoke with you a little bit, and of course y'all were at our meeting, was that June?
Right.
I think it was the June meeting.
Yes.
And so after that, I've been talking with Green about partnering with DDA with sponsorships, kind of splitting the sponsorship between the DDA and PACA. And I have gotten board approval from PACA to sponsor up to $1,000 per event, which from what I understand, it's September, October, and November. Is that right? Okay, September, October, November. And funding an honorarium of $100 per artist that we invite to be set up in the downtown community. So PACA has agreed to that $1,000. Yeah, and we're excited. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Would you like me to give an outline so that?
Yeah, does anybody, Green, why don't you go ahead and start talking?
All right. The outline of this event is fairly simple. We do not close the streets because there's a little friction with some of the downtown merchants about street closings with Second Saturday. We're going to start this off with no street closing at all, nothing. But since this is a 6 to 9 o'clock event, they may soften that line up and we may flex later if the merchants want it. But basically, we don't close the streets. The honorarium for the artists, we want to jury this a little bit, as in we want to vet them and then approve them to be in there. And so that's the $100 as part of this vetting process. And they go in the stores. We invite them and we put them in with a merchant. And you'll understand why that will be more important later on, because there will be, as we go forward, if this is a success, and I think it will be a great success, we're going to have a lot of lesser makers and artists want to participate, and they'll want to come in and infill in the community, on the streets, in squares, et cetera, et cetera. There'll be add-ons to that, and that'll be another problem to deal with, much like we talk about street merchants for the second Saturday, vendors on the sidewalk kind of thing. But for the artist, we want to be able to say, we want you, and so we want to give you $100 for your hassle to come down here and show. The idea is simple. At 6 o'clock, we have the artist inside a store. The store is responsible for refreshments. If you like it and you're fine, then it's a little bit of wine, a little bit of cheese, some crackers, great. If you have an issue with that, then make a lovely adult non-alcoholic punch and whatever, crackers and cheese. And that's perfectly lovely and a great idea. So the idea, we go 6 to 9. with any luck, we will have people come down, walk the streets, walk into the stores, see the merchants, see the merchandise, meet the real estate agents and anybody else that opens their doors, and host them and start building relationships. And then at 7:30, 8 o'clock, they want to go get something to eat. And we have our restaurants right there at their discretion. We're not talking about thousands of people. Really don't want thousands of people, but everybody we attract will be interested in much more soft and social situations. Angela's mentioned that she's thinking about possibly getting a small jazz band to be on Stegall Street on your little stage. You know, soft, easy, not a big deal, no amplification, no hassles, low to no budget. And then what we can do is, depending on how the merchants react to this whole thing and how reality is, we can start edit. We can start an hour earlier. We can push it back an hour later. That's generally not particularly popular, but you could do it if that's what they wanted to do. If we want to, and Amelia has mentioned the performing arts. Do something in the performing arts world. Well, the performing arts needs a stage, and if we close the street, we have an instantly large stage to do something fun and out in the street in the performing arts. But that's an iteration later. I want to start off small. We see how it works. Everybody gets comfortable. We get better at it, and then we start getting more creative. But we could easily find out by November they want the street closed at 6 o'clock, and we do something fun out in the street, whatever that may be. But it is not a concert. It is not sitting in the street. There are no coolers. You know what I mean? There's no, and no setup during the afternoon. So the friction with the merchants is almost zero. Push them in. I was talking to Carrie, and Carrie, of course, has done a brilliant job of covering every square inch of her store merchandise. And I said, Carrie, how can you get an artist in it? She says, don't worry about it. I'll make room. Okay. You know what I mean? So Carrie wants an artist inside her store, and she'll have to shove a bunch of merchandise out of the way to get them in there. But that's the kind of thinking that we're doing. Any questions, any concerns?
Anybody got any discussion?
The dates, now you said for the months,
Second Friday.
second Friday of each of those 3 months?
Right.
So to be once a month?
Once a month, 3 months, yeah.
Okay,
And just like y'all said originally about this year for 22 is our pilot year to try things. And we're doing 4 second Saturdays. I hope to do 3 of these, and then we can learn enough, and then maybe we can figure out what we want to do for this. Ultimately, if you think about it, if we really have the DDA and get a Main Street staff person up and running, we will do 2 or 3 events a month, and you know, by somebody in some configuration, and they can all fit together neatly.
Anybody else, any other more discussion? I might add that me and Green and Angela's been talking, and we've been talking to, just getting some feedback from some of the merchants in town, and I'll be quite honest with y'all, they are excited. It's something different. And again, we're bringing art and culture to our city, and that's just one thing. When a city grows, you've got to have art and culture, as I've talked to other people in other communities. So I think it's a great thing. I know, go ahead.
One more thing, I forgot to mention this. Angela and I are scheduled to go to the Big Canoe Arts Club on August the 4th at 10 o'clock in the morning at their monthly meeting. They were extremely excited. The president of the club was extremely excited about this whole thing, was not the least bit concerned about the $100 honorarium. That wasn't of any real importance to her, and she felt like we could draw some really fine artists here without that. But we said we want to vet them a little bit. So she proposed that we have all artists submit something to someone, which I'm going to dump that on Angela. And but the point is, they can send in something there and say, yes, we'd like you to be one of our artists, and then that qualifies them to A, be in a store, and B, get the $100 for their hassle. So, but big
maximum of number of people that you want to?
That's kind of a pivot between Jack and I, the number of merchants, but we have $3,000 from PACA for the 3 events, and we're going to ask tonight for $3,600 from the DDA. So you just do the math, and that's kind of our maximum limit that we can afford. You know, assuming we're very lucky.
Yeah, I was just going to also say that PAC is willing to come up with a list of artists and work with the Big Canoe
Arts
Club on getting that list of who would like to participate and who's going to go in what business. So. Yeah.
We started walking, me and Green did, and started looking at, and there was 26 people that we identified initially. Now, we haven't talked to every one of those 26, and so with y'all's approval, if everybody wants to do this tonight, then we're going to set a meeting up with merchants in downtown and see who wants to do it. And we'll go have a meeting similar to what Marty does on a Monday, and then bring them in there and sit down and talk, and let them know what's going to happen. And from that standpoint, if we end up with 12, 20, whatever, that's what we'll have. So anyway, one other thing I was going to bring up, Green. When I was talking to Amelia, other than, all right, so one of the questions that Amelia asked, what age group are we looking at? Well, we basically are looking at 50s, 60s, and on up. But we want to do something for the kids, so there might be some people on stilts, juggling, people walking around on stilts, and there might be some mines walking around, which I think would be very cool for our kids. So, like Marty's deal, we'll have something for the kids as well.
That's a variable about the street.
Yes.
Is it going to close the street or not?
Yes. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Chairman, if I may, a couple questions to those of you that presented. I noticed in the packet presented to us, it stated the Main Street merchants can choose to close some or all of Main Street on later dates if programming ideas for the closed street are developed. Just for point of order, I think that's a city manager discretion item. That's not for this board. That deals directly with the city manager and her staff. So anything we're talking about as far as street closure, I'll divert over to her. I love the idea of the stipend or the honorarium of $100 per artist. I'm happy to hear Big Canoe said that that's not an issue, that type of thing is revolving, that conversation. What's important for us to remember here is, as our board, what we endorse and what we're promoting is for our entire community. So looking at the sourcing of $3,600, it may be incumbent upon us to lean on Big Canoe Arts Club to go look at that money and see what they're willing to put forward. PAC has done a great job of coming forward with $3,000. I think it would be really wise of Big Canoe, let's lean on them a bit, that Arts Club, and see what they can do. The $3,600, if I were to ask our finance director, who's not present at this meeting, or our city manager, the $3,600, where would the funding come from out of the DDA budget? As far as I'm aware, I don't know that we have a line item for that, but I would like to lean on the city manager for her input, if you don't mind.
As far as there's not a current line item right now, but I believe there would probably be funding available. We would have to wait until the final bills are in from the last second Saturday event, but I think the funding would be available at that point.
Thank you very
And
much.
I was going to go there in just a minute, so.
Awesome.
Anybody else got any other questions? So with that, could I have a motion that we proceed with the art walk?
Motion to proceed as presented with the stipulation street closures are at the city manager's discretion, and there's a maximum allocation as presented, $3,600, pending city manager and finance director's approval.
Second.
Okay. Any other further discussion?
Will you say it one more time? The motion.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, yeah.
Motion to approve as presented with notice that street closures are at the discretion of the city manager and her designee. And also maximum allocation of $3,600. That allocation is pending approval from the city manager and her finance director. Just for everyone's knowledge, the reason I throw that caveat in there is it's important for us to walk hand in hand with the city on the budgeting process as we learn as this pilot year continues, as Green mentioned. So I want to make sure that we're in line with them. If there's any issue that the city manager or her staff throw up to our direction, we need to be able to address that. So understand that we can ask for the allocation of up to $3,600. We may get $2,000, but we will certainly push forward and ask.
And are we still in discussion right now? Is it even appropriate to add to the motion a person of contact instead of Amy, Jack, and Kurt with the DDA? Is that appropriate to put that? If there's any questions within the community, that we direct them to?
Honestly, the motion covering funding, once we get this passed, I think we can just provide a point of contact.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other further discussion? Okay. Can I have a motion to approve? I think we
Yeah,
have
motion
done
and
that.
second.
That's right, we already have done, excuse me, lost my soul. So, can I have a vote by approving for the apartment block? Unanimously approved, okay? Thank y'all, and thank you, Rachel and Green, for talking. All right, the next thing I wanted to do is, I brought it, I did this several years ago, and so I wanted to make sure I did this right this time and got the approval from this committee to go out in the community and see if I can get some money from various people and corporations for Christmas lights in downtown Jasper. I want some discussion if y'all want to do that. If not, I'll stop. Can I have any discussion?
What exactly is the?
I don't know what to be honest with you, Parish, I've been trying to get a hold of the person who has COVID right now, so I can't get a hold of her to see whatever we're looking at. I just want to get some new items for the kids to play like we did last year with the ornament, if you will, and had a great success with it. So it would not be extremely a whole lot of money, but just something to put in downtown. And if you want to cap it, we can do that. Again, I just thought I'd approach y'all about this, and if y'all don't want to do this, that's fine.
Mr. Chairman, if you're willing to entertain a motion, I'd make a motion that this board approve you to contact vendor and present back to this board with options and pricing.
Okay? Any other further?
I'll second that.
Okay, all right. Any other discussion on that?
That would at least get the conversation started. We would know what options are out there.
That's,
If it's
and
within
that's
the-
what, I think that's a great opportunity, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, show of hands, everybody approved? That's unanimously. Okay. All right. Now we need an update on Perrow Park. Kim, if you'll bring this up to date on that.
Sure. Thank you for having me this evening. I just wanted to kind of give you an update on where things stand from the city's perspective with Perrow Park. So as you all know, we're planning on pursuing ARC funding, that's Appalachian Regional Commission. And since that is federal funding that is in partnership with the state, your procurement procedures are pretty precise. And so even though I know we've had some architectural, some conceptual work done previously, that's not really something that we're able to use with this grant because it all happened prior to the grant and before us pursuing it. So the Northwest Georgia Regional Commission has been working with us. We've come up with an RFP which went out in June. Bids were due back along with the proposals at the beginning of July. We got 6 really great proposals from architectural firms. They are bang-up jobs. The scoring committee met this past week to go over everything. And what we've done is we've narrowed it down to 3. And we'll have those 3 firms coming in the latter half of this week and then finishing up the latter half of next week to kind of do their final presentation, do question and answers, make sure that they're a good fit for this project. And then I anticipate that we would be taking a recommendation to City Council for approval to proceed with one of them, either at the work session at the end of August or at the September council meeting. So, just wanted to keep y'all kind of in the loop as to what's going on. Do you have any questions for me? Okay, thanks.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Okay. Now let's get into the committee reports, financial reports. So I'm going to bring you up to date where we are. Presently, we have $17,083 in the bank, but our July band and all the materials that we've done with that has not been taken off of that, so there's around $6,000. So we really have $11,000. We also have $5,000 coming from Steve McClure, which will be coming to us quickly. He gave money to the Rotary Club, which they're using their tax write-off facilities, and they will be giving us a check for $5,000. Also, Marty has going to give $1,000, which he's working with State Farm to get that. So we're looking at right now, we will have $17,000 in the bank. So if you look at what we've been doing with the bands, that's around $6,000. So we're going to have around $11,000 to move around with. So is everybody okay with that? Everybody understand what I just did? Marty, am I correct in what I just said?
Roundabout numbers, yes, that's true.
Okay. Any other further discussion on that? Okay, all right. Now we'll go to Marty and we'll talk about second Saturday. Apologize for the cough.
No problem. Let me go start with what's coming up first, and then we'll go back to what's happened in the past. August 13th will be our final event. Everything is on plan for that. Everything's scheduled. It will be our last event for the second Saturday for the year, and but I think it's been pretty successful. Going back to the report that I sent out to the board today about the future, we had a meeting on the follow-up. We knew the crowd size. I'll give a little update on when we were there. The crowd size we knew was a little smaller because we had some weather issues and threatening weather came in. We gave away our free water. It was pretty successful for that. We talked about in our meeting that we need to add no coolers to our messaging because we feel like that we can prevent a little more of our alcohol consumption by people bringing it in versus going to the restaurant. So we're wanting to push that. We really want to stress that we're not bringing your own private coolers in. It's kind of hard to do that with encouraging people to bring plenty of water too. So the leasing of that will be a struggle going forward, but that's something that we need to kind of address. But we are going in our messaging and we're sending out on Facebook and social media platforms to try to offset that. But we're doing a developer map for the vendor. Amy and Cindy DeMayo are working on that, and we'll have that out before our next event. People will be able to see where the road closures are and where all the different restaurants will be open. So we're in the process of doing that. The vendor events, adding our vendors, we've added a few outside vendors. We had some discussion about that. We're kept it where a business can put out one 12 by 12 tent at each event in addition to their sidewalk presence there. So we've gotten some judgment on that as far as where we're going to go on that. We put out a lot more signs for parking. This event was really successful. I think the way we did our street closures at 3 o'clock, we started shutting down the street, but allowed cars to stay on Main Street for business to have people, but by 5 o'clock we needed people to have them moved, and we put out some signs. Kirk and Amy did a good job of that day, and that helped a whole lot. And we'll continue, I believe, to do it that same way for this August 13th event. So in our meeting also, we talked about a calendar for next year, which we're putting the plan together to try to present that to council probably in the fall when budget times, and some sponsor levels for 2023 where we can start raising some funds for that. So, and I presented the budget to on the board today, and we do have the funds that are coming in from Mr. Steve and the foundation, or Mr. McClure's Family Foundation. So we had about $7,000 more to come to the coffers. So the numbers that I've got, and I'll give you a little more exact instead of having them. Bear with me just a second. I have them on my. But we have about $27,000 in expenses for the event, which includes all the bands, all the expenses, the signs and everything. So it's roughly a year, and we'll have around somewhere in the 30, a little over 30. We're going to make money as far as that goes. I mean, we're going to have profit left over, and we'll have some money to run over for next year, hopefully too. So that'll be a lot. We're going to have something to do that. So I'll send out the figures today, and I'll get a final report after we get the final expenses in for August 13th. But overall, I think it's been pretty successful. And we'll have one more. Go from there. Any questions?
I want to commend you for the job you've done. It's kind of taken the lead on that. I mean, you've done an awesome job, Marty, so very appreciative of the way everyone's pulled together and pulled that off. So it's We've had a lot of help with them.
It's been a lot of work for a lot of folks, but it's been good. We've had some growing pains, but it's been good. I think the businesses of downtown Jasper have really appreciated it, and I think they'll show up at some point in our meetings and let us know how they appreciate it, I hope. So, but I know they're doing real well with it. They're expecting more. So I hope we can provide that for them.
I want to commend you also, Marty. You've done an excellent job, and I know it's been a lot of work, and there's a lot of time in that. And Amy and Kurt with the signs and moving the structure around where everything was a lot better opportunity for people to come in and enjoy the activities. So it's been a working process, as we said. We're learning from this, and so I think we've learned a great deal. And again, I want to appreciate everybody on this board that's helped us with this. Any other further comments?
Any questions from anybody? Mayor, you have a question?
Is it appropriate that you can discuss anything about the Saturday following show and shine?
We're still in the planning stages. I've not finalized everything, but there is just a discussion with the sheriff today and some of the committee members on that. That's the plan to have a show and shine. Typically is going to have their same schedule for that Friday with a band and the event from 5 to 9. With the city doing the street closures for that, and we got some work to do with that. We're trying to make a Saturday night event out of it also, and just have a band. We're not going to have a lot of vendors and a lot of, not a second Saturday type show, but have an event where the thousands of people that are in town for Jeep Fest will have something to come downtown for on Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. It's still in the planning process, and we'll have something to present to council, but we have the stage that we bring in that we have it's the same guy that we use for the stage for second Saturday for Jeep Fest. So the idea was that we bring the stage in, we can leave it in front of the courthouse and have two back-to-back events with the 30,000, 40,000 people that are already in town to come to that afternoon. So
my remarks on that would be that the crowds are going to be massive. I would anticipate more than we've ever had, even for a second Saturday. And I wondered if that might be an opportunity for this board to work with our merchants and come up with some special thing that we could do downtown as far as their hours go.
that's definitely something we could look at too. They're actually moving the Thursday night ride they do for the local people and the local sponsors and local vendors. They're starting to get at north of the church, going up to Talking Rock, and that's Thursday night. And they're doing that in the usually Maple Hill, and they're moving that this year to the Monday night. The Thursday night, excuse me, but it's that's a big event also too. So it's not just the Friday and Saturday night. That Thursday night ride is 300-400 people too, and it's going to be right in the downtown Jasper area. So it's yes, I think there could be some. I'd like to see some considerations or other as far as the hours and everything, but I think the businesses are know it. They know what's coming. I don't think that they're not surprised about what Jeep Fest is, but it's an event that's bringing a lot of money to our town.
Good idea. Thank you.
All right, we'll look into that and continue forward with that as well. So,
Real quick, Mr. Chairman, before we move on to that, the one comment I will say, I spoke to Marty earlier today. Anything like that presented to the city manager so she is aware and can either give consent on behalf of the city or tell us resources are or are not available. It is perfectly fine to discuss events and items with individuals, but without that individual's input and consideration, nothing would be possible.
We've got a plan, and we're going to try to present to council for that process. But yes, you're right. It does need to come from the city office.
okay. Any other further discussion? With that, we'll move on to the business development in Parish. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, just a quick update. We're still looking and searching for our first business development project. We have had a meeting with Green and Sonia. Amberly Godfrey was there. am I missing? I know Kirby Glaze was there, invited by Green. Thank you for setting up that meeting. That was
virtual.
Kirby is the president of Public-Private Partnership Project Management, and as the title implies, he deals with, he puts together deals with public and private entities, similar to what we'd be looking to help bring together. It was a lot of information. I'm still digesting some of what he had to say. We met for, gosh, an hour, maybe a little over an hour, hour and a half. And we will have a subsequent meeting with Kirby as well to further our conversations about what that project could or might be. We also had another telephone conversation with another developer who is looking to close a deal here in Jasper very soon. Nothing came of that other than to say, we're here as a DDA and we're available, and if there's anything that we can do to help you, we're happy to serve whatever role that you feel like we can. So that was good to make that introduction and just trying to get the word out. After this, we have a meeting set up on the 3rd. Amy, thank you for getting that set up with the Canton DDA. The idea there being looking for, DDAs that had done what we're trying to do and find out what they did that worked, and also find out what they might do differently so that we don't make the same mistakes. So in the very early processes still, part of the problem is getting all these very busy people together at the same time, which has been a challenge. But again, Green, thank you for all of your help in getting people together, and that's been very helpful. So
Thanks, Greg.
still working.
Yeah, it's a work in process, and we know we're at the bottom, but we're working our
We're
way up.
developing.
Yes.
Helping our development.
That's good. Any other comments? All right, then I'll adjourn this meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Show of hands. Okay, thank you. Thanks for everybody being here.